KK Aggarwal sir is not only mentor, he is one of the strong pillar of the CEGR since starting. He is one guiding light for the CEGR, and he is all in all about the CEGR. So he is the final decision making what he has to do.
Professor Sitharam, Chairman AICTE, Professor Sahasrabuddhe, Chairman and number of prestigious organizations, Professor Yadav, the very eminent and highly awarded accomplished academicians, Mr. Ravish Roshan, the fulcrum of CEGR, my dear colleagues, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I have been associated with the CEGR almost from day one, and I think I must first compliment Ravish for taking CEGR to where it is today. It has established itself as a recognized, known think tank for education in the country in a meaningful way, which has made some significant impacts. Today we are celebrating the birthday of CEGR, slightly late by 2 weeks because of elections and some scheduling problems. But having a continuous growth path for 10 years itself is a challenge for many organizations. So very fact CEGR has been able to achieve this growth continuously for last 10 years is a great accomplishment, and I compliment all on dais and off the dais who have been supporting CEGR and giving an impetus to thinking on education beyond the government. Government keeps on doing their job. For example, AICT here has been continuously thinking, UGC has been continuously thinking, NAC has been thinking, NB has been thinking, all have been doing their jobs. But in our country, to think beyond the government was little less known. It was always believed that the government's job is to think and plan. Our job is to follow. And that is not participation, that is not it happens. And therefore, I value the role of CEGR a lot, and that keeps me associated with CEGR for 10 years continuously. Friends, the topic which has been chosen for today's discussion, education at 47. I think we did discuss this topic a couple of times earlier also in some conferences of CEGR. I think one of the first conference in the country on this topic was by CEGR as to education at CE 2047. And I still remember I started my speech saying that 2047 is too far to think what will happen in education. The way the education is changing, the way the academia is changing, the way the knowledge is spreading, I think to predict what will happen in 2047 is anybody's wisdom, and not to make a guess is a better intelligence than to make a guess what will happen in 2047. The rate of change of knowledge is unprecedented in the history of civilization. It had never happened. I read in context of a medical encyclopedia that in 1950, knowledge used to take about 50 years to develop. Today, it doesn't take even 50 days to develop. Now, if that is the rate of change of knowledge, how do you design curriculum? How do you design content? It's very easy to criticize each other. It's very easy to criticize industry, institutions, each other, and so on and so forth. But to anticipate what will happen even for a 4-year degree, when you admit the child and when you graduate the child, things have changed so much that to be precisely defining is almost impossible. Friends, I thought with an intelligentsia of this level in the audience, which is very rare to find, I thought I'll touch a basic point. And my take is we should start talking less on the subject, more on the attributes which are required from a graduate. What are the characteristics which are required? For example, I have been looking after MBA for 4 years. We have been talking about outcome-based education. Now, on one hand, we talk about outcome-based education. We all give lectures on outcome-based education. But if it comes to question paper setting in the examination, we'll say find out square root 5. We'll not stop at that. We'll say find out square root 5 by using Newton-Raphson method. What the hell outcome-based education? If it's outcome-based education, let the student decide which method to use to find the square root of 5. But we don't allow the student even this freedom that you decide which method you want to use. We want to tell him the method also. We give a small problem. So all what we have done in the history of education all over the world and more so in India, we try to over-define the problem all the time. And when you over-define the problem, you kill the creativity. You kill the innovation in the process because problem is over-defined. He has no option but to reproduce what he has learned. He has no possibility to think. I remember when I was a student, Professor Sitaram is from civil engineering, so I'm talking of an example of civil engineering, but see, there is something called plate girder in civil engineering and something called gantry girder. I think our civil engineering question paper gave the design of a plate girder which was in our syllabus, even as electronics students. But the load which was given to us for designing the plate girder was not suitable for plate girder. It was suitable for gantry girder. So probably for that load, good plate girder could not have been designed. So I was very anxious. Most of the students were really worried on face as to how to solve this problem. I find my next door friend, he was very coolly doing the problem. So I was a little surprised. If I am not able to think how to solve this problem, how is this boy able to solve the problem? So when we came out of the examination hall, I asked him, how did you do that? He said, what was the problem? I said, it said designed for a 1 lakh tons and plate girder is not for 1 lakh tons. It's up to 10,000 tons. Oh, he says, that is the issue. I read it only 10,000 tons. I never saw one extra zero, and therefore I was not puzzled at all. Now, why I'm trying to raise this is, we become so accustomed to the known problems and seen problems, and we have made sure that the creativity is killed in the process. You don't think out of the box. I still remember a student when I was teaching, he was the brightest student of the class, but he was perspiring. After the examination, I called him to my office. I said, Rohit, what happened? He says, sir, for the first time, we were asked to think in the examination hall. Otherwise, we were always asked to reproduce in the examination hall. And that's the problem. So my dear distinguished academicians, I think we have to change the paradigm. If we talk about outcome-based education, let us give it a fair trial. Some students will make nonsense of it. But even that nonsense may have a creativity in it. And we have to spot that creativity. If we don't spot that, we are nowhere. We talk about interdisciplinarity, but we keep on fighting about the syllabus, how many mechanical engineering courses, how many physics courses, how many chemical courses in every university. I think every vice chancellor would have spent more time in resolving the disputes between various heads of departments of how many subjects of what course, rather than going to outcome-based education. We talk about quality, and pardon me saying, most of us do not know what is quality. And we cannot communicate to the student what is quality. It is so difficult to define. I think I took 20 years to learn what is quality and publish on quality. But it's an easier word. Word had